Hello, fellow players of Hero Wars. I'm Jay. Welcome to Jay vs. Hero Wars. Today, I'll be talking about my tier list that I made for Facebook and web. It's been highly requested. So, again, these are just my thoughts. But without further ado, let's check it out. All right, guys. So before I get into my tier list, a couple of things that I need to put out there as a disclaimer. My tier list is meant as a guide. It does not include all combos. The list is meant to help new players figure out which heroes they should focus on. It's important to remember a typical team is comprised of a tank, major damage dealer or two, a control slash support, and a healer, something like that. So, again, just things to remember, things to know. So moving on, we have some examples, right? So these are some examples of teams that I like. We have Astaroth, Kark, Nebula, Faceless, and Martha, for example. You could put in Sebastian, maybe, right, for Faceless, or Nebula. You could even put in Yasmin in there, right? So then I also have another example, Cleaver, Satori, Ju, Celeste, and Peppy. That's a pretty solid team. Very offensive oriented. We have Aurora, Krista, Sebastian, Celeste, and Lars. So you got the twins with a dodge, bonus, basically using Aurora. We have Astaroth, Jorgen, ODH, Orion, Dorian, and Helios. These are just some examples of teams that I like. Astaroth, Yasmin, Ching Mao, Sebastian, and Jet. A bunch of different things you can do, but these are different examples of teams that I like. Since usually, criticism of tier lists is you don't really give any options of teams. These are a couple teams I like. Of course, you can build your team any way you see fit. Again, this is just a guide as to what I think heroes are currently in the world of Hero Wars at their maxed out values. All right, guys, so here is the tier list, right? So S tier has a lot more heroes in it than it has before. Hero Wars has definitely expanded this group. We have Aurora, right, with the dodge, and the dodge that she applies to her entire team makes her a major threat. And that pairs with the fact that she can basically block a lot of magic damage. We have Astaroth, one of the only true tanks in the game, in my opinion. A tank is meant to basically absorb damage, and Astaroth is really good at that and basically mitigating how much damage his team takes by reviving a hero. No other tank can do that I'm aware of. We have Krista and Lars, a very lethal magic attack combo. Sebastian, OP, can absolutely just nullify any, you know, negative stat, which is a Jorgen trait. And Jorgen is also really good because of that. The only real counter to Jorgen that is a hard counter is Sebastian. Of course, you do have, Satori and some other players that can nullify Jorgen essentially, but Jorgen is a top tier hero. Very few counters to him, especially if you don't have Sebastian. Kark, one of the best damage dealers in the game, can take out 3 opponents in one hit. Yasmin can take out the entire team over the course of a matchup. A very, very lethal attacker. Of course, can be stopped by Helios. No hero is infallible, right? We got Martha, the best healer in the game. Celeste, the best dual healer slash attacker available. And then you have Isaac, stops a lot of magic attackers in their tracks and magic damage dealing teams like the ODH combo. We have Kira in the A tier, one of the best attackers in the game. Corvus and Morgan, the undead set, really, really lethal. Corvus deals a lot of damage. They get a couple more skins. Watch them jump up to S tier. Corvus is the only one really kind of holding that team down. Morgan on her own has the potential. She's right on that like buffer or like tier where I would say she's like A plus. Like she's right in between S and A in my opinion. She's a little bit above most of the characters here, but because I want to pair them together, I put them in A. We got Anvari, one of the best tanks to stop Kark. You got Nebula, just an overall great utility, can heal, get rid of any negative stats, and basically for 2 heroes, right? And can also increase physical attack and I believe magic attack as well. You have Faceless, can deal some massive damage. Doesn't have a lot of health, but massive damage. Dante, after getting some new skins and an upgrade with the dodge as well as a slight rework, Dante's moved up a bunch of tiers. We got ODH, right? Orion, Helios, and Dorian. I'd say they're all individually about A tier. Helios might be a little lower because he's a little bit more specialized. But overall, that rounds out the rest of the A tier. In the A minus tier, we have Cleaver and Peppy. Part of what brings them down to A minus tier, you got Cleaver, who doesn't deal as much damage now because of some of these reworks. So that is something to note when you're looking at this combo. Not to mention Cleaver's super hard to obtain, doesn't make him super user friendly. Satori, major damage dealer, but one of the problems is if Satori is not able to leave those fox marks, not able to do a lot of damage. So Satori, very strong, but needs the right team and needs to be facing the right team as well. You got Luther, one of the best tanks to just hide and run away from your team, I would say, but can deal a lot of damage. In my opinion, that's what separates Luther from Zeri, right? So Zeri hides when she basically is freaked out by getting too much damage, leaving your team susceptible to more hits. That's what Luther does as well, but Luther actually does damage. Zeri is like the defensive counterpart, but she doesn't do a lot of damage, and her stun is not very long. So Luther is in a higher tier. Daredevil does a lot of damage, but not quite as good on Facebook and web as Daredevil is on mobile. So for those reasons and the fact that there's no steady burning damage, I think, like there is on mobile, Daredevil is not quite A tier material here. Ju, very good hero, great against bosses, not always the best choice in PvP matchups, and Martha really seems to nullify Ju's effect. Ishmael, highly underrated hero, can deal some massive damage when paired correctly. One of the best tanks in the game and underrated. I understand that he used to be the best hero in the game, and I know that there was a bunch of debuffs and reworks to him to make him weaker in the meta, but he's still actually pretty good. A lot of people just don't sleep on him still, and that's okay. I got Rufus. I mean, Rufus is a underrated tank as well. Magic attack just does not go through, and now with the rework, basically where pure damage cannot take down Rufus either, it really limits your options when you're battling a Rufus. So I've seen some Rufus teams do pretty well, and that's why Rufus is in the A minus tier. Galahad, respectable fighter, but doesn't do a whole lot for his team generally, other than just kind of deal a lot of AoE damage, which is good, but also helps build up the opponent's team's energy a little bit quicker than you'd want. Qingmao, very, very good, and especially when she gets that skill going where she basically can take down an enemy's damage by 15%. That's crazy. We got Jet. Jet's pretty good, but has to be used correctly. And you would want to use Jet with someone like Ishmael, for example, or Yasmin, someone who can take advantage of his debuff skills. We got Lian in the B plus tier because Lian is really effective against specific heroes. So mostly magic damage dealers. And the problem with Lian is she puts her foes to sleep, but if any of her teammates hits those heroes, they wake up. So that mitigates some of the effectiveness of Lian. Thea, an okay damage dealer. Silence doesn't last very long, right? Isaac's silence lasts 5 seconds. Thea's lasts 3. Plus, Thea's magic healing generally is one of the lowest in terms of quality. You got Maya, okay damage dealer and poison, but you really need the fight to last a decent amount of time. You need Maya in the second spot. Those are reasons why she's not ranked any higher. Elmir, decent damage absorber, not great at dealing damage. Part of the reason he is in this B plus tier. Cornelius, I really struggled to put him in the B plus and not the A minus tier, but he's just not viable on a lot of different teams and lineups. He's very good against select heroes like Celeste and Alvanor, right? But again, he's very, very niche and specific to certain heroes. You got Marcus, very good in terms of blocking damage and has that invincibility skill for a short period of time. I really like that, but I think it's very hard to time it up and make the most of it in most fights. And in player versus player matchups, you can't always choose when that effect's going to go off. So it's not always the best choice, especially in Arena, Grand Arena. And we have Chaba, right? Chaba's moved up, in my opinion, a little bit because Chaba can absolutely counter Aurora. The issue with that is he only really takes the tanks out of the fight usually. So you got to have some good damage dealers behind Chaba to take down the opposing team. Heidi, actually is, really good. But again, poison is the main thing of Heidi, and as well as dodge. So with those things, those are kind of delaying tactics. And for those reasons, I don't value those as highly as I do offensive power. So Heidi might be an A minus tier hero. I could make the argument for that, but I don't think much higher than that. But Heidi has definitely improved since she used to be the worst. He used to be the worst hero in the game. B minus tier, we got Astrid and Lucas. A good hero for Outland, not a great hero for most matchups, especially late in the meta. We got Mojo. Same story there. We got Fox. Fox is good, but there's other heroes that do Fox's job better. You got Ching Mao, can do the same thing, but better. You got Anvari, who can stop Kark, which was the whole reason we had Fox in the first place. I got Ziri. Similar story with Luther. Luther is just better. Luther does damage, even though he leaves his team wide open, just like Ziri does. Darkstar, weak on Facebook and web. Sorry, I don't really have too much more to say about Darkstar, other than there's potential there, but not really doing much. Kai got a downgrade in the rework, became a magic attack based team. Doesn't work anymore on a card team. Yeah, just not great for Kai there. Phobos has some healing capabilities, can basically detract from a physical attacker, but only one at a time. So that really limits Phobos' usability. Ginger deals a lot of damage, right? But it's so spread out and so slow, in my opinion, that it doesn't justify moving Ginger up anywhere and not having her on a team. Plus, synergetically, there's a bunch of better options. You got Kark, Yasmin, you got Orion, even I would say Daredevil, Ju, all do better damage in terms of focusing on one hero, taking them out. Ginger sprays a lot of damage, but it doesn't do enough to take down a bunch of heroes at one go. You got Alvanor. I was going to put Alvanor in C tier. The only thing that saved Alvanor from going to the worst tier was the fact that, the block sometimes really can stop a Yasmin team if Yasmin's the only major damage dealer, assuming that, they're the same strength. So if Yasmin is, way stronger than Alvanor, that's not going to play. Or if Alvanor is stronger than Yasmin, that'll play. So a couple things to note there. Alvanor is not a great hero, in my opinion. Then we come to the C tier, which is the lowest tier on my rank. Lilith, just no. No one should ever use Lilith in a lineup the way that she is now. She needs more damage dealing or more health gain from her skill. Otherwise, she gets knocked out too fast, unless you're in an adventure and she's really buffed. Only way I can really justify Lilith, and usually those buffs mean that she gets a lot more health than she normally does. You got Judge, deals very minimal damage. Just not a good hero. Arachne, again, downgrade. Arachne was probably B minus, B plus tier as a physical damage dealer, but as a magic damage dealer, useless. Absolutely useless. You got Artemis, deals even less damage than Ginger, sprays even more. Not a great hero. So overall, that's what I'd say, I have on my tier list. And these are just my thoughts. So feel free to let me know what you guys think as well. Obviously, I'm happy to discuss them more. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you all in Dominion.